There are some ties to old villains, for sure, yeah. About 5 years has passed since the events of Payday 2, where the gang robbed the White House. And after that, the gang went into retirement, living off the enormous amounts of money that they've made over their heisting careers. But in Payday 3, some of the people that they've wronged in the past figure out that the gang is very much alive still, and that they stole pardons. So in this universe, that sort of heist works. And therefore the cops aren't doing anything, and some of these people learn about this, and they're not happy about that at all. So they conspire to have the Payday gang killed, hire assassins, and as a precaution, they also make sure to freeze all their assets, just in case the assassination attempts fail. The reasoning being that in that case, at least the heisters won't have any resources, they won't have any money to be able to retaliate on these assassination attempts. But of course, we do know that at least a few, we don't know if any of the actual assassination attempts actually succeed, but Dallas, Hoxton, Wolf and Chains survive along with Joy. And they are contacted by an old associate of Bane, a woman called Shade, who manages to reach them just in time before the assassination attempts. And she gathers them all up in New York, promising them that she will do her best to try to get to the bottom of this conspiracy, to learn who's behind it and get them some payback. But first they need to get back to heisting, because since they don't have any money left, they need to raise money somehow.
What makes the audio of Payday interesting is that we are trying to keep it grounded, but still going for the power fantasy and really get the player in charge of his or her own experience.
For the music of Payday 3, the real challenge was to honor the legacy that we have, you know, some really good and loved music that the community really enjoy for Payday 2 and Payday the Heist, and bring something new in the mix. So that was really the challenge. Yeah, and I brought some of my influences as well, some from electronic music and bass music, and but also some rock and metal, and trying to mix it together with what we already had as a foundation from the other games. It's been a fun challenge, also very difficult. Yeah, I really like the point that the music is right now.
We talked about 50% Payday the Heist, 20% Payday 2 and 30% Gustavo.
Yeah, we had that formula going on since the beginning. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, in Payday 3 we are going for a little bit more of a serious tone in the game. It's still based very much about the Hollywood heist fantasy, you being a master criminal, but it still has the base sentiment of it being a game with a good vibe. It should be a good time, even though, I mean, the heisters are killing a lot of cops, but it's done in a way to make it feel lighthearted. It's more of the situational type of humor, where it can be really serious, but a thing that happens makes it funny.
What do you mean I sound nervous? You sound nervous. I'm not nervous at all.
The way the music is set up in Payday 3 right now is that we have these different states that they correspond to what's happening in the game. So we have 5 different intensities of stealth. Then that moves into a control state, then anticipation and assault. It's kind of what we had in Payday 2 as well. And yeah, the music, it changes accordingly to what's going on in the heist. So when there's a police assault, everything ramps up, and when they regroup, it slows down a bit, but you're still pumping the player, and you get into that loop. Usually I'm led by the heist that I'm working on, so I make each song for each heist, and I let the setting and the objectives of the heist lead me, and usually I try to find the tempo first. So some heists I feel they need faster tempo, others can work better in slower tempos. And they go from there trying to find hooks. Sometimes it can be like a melody, sometimes a bass line, sometimes it's just the rhythm.
We put a lot of emphasis on building the world and get an immersive experience. So if you explore our heists, you will find interesting sounds from every corner of the heist.
There's actually a lot of thought going into what we're stealing, how we go about stealing it. These heisters are meant to be the best of the best, and the approach on how they go about these heists should, in most cases, reflect what actual master criminals would do, and also about why you're stealing certain things, what's the purpose of them, how would could this be feasible in the real world or not. It should feel like, yeah, that's plausible, I can buy that.
Set up thermite in the hallway right above the vault.
You should always play with sound because you have features or you have game mechanics where audio is really aiding your experience, like hearing where the enemies are or where your teammates are, or if they shout for help, or like it adds to your experience. Because you can hear in 360 degrees, but you can only see in like 90.
The main story of Payday 3 is where you get introductory cinematics that explains the lead up to the heist that you're about to play, given the situation with the conspirators and where the characters are at that point in time. Then you play the heist, and then afterwards you get sort of another cinematic that explains the aftermath of that heist, basically. But there's also just a few little nuggets of information strewn about in some of the heists, things that can reveal a little bit of character backstory and what their ideas about things really are, and also some foreshadowing what's to come. Since 5 years have passed since the events of the end of Payday 2, the heisters they have matured a bit. For instance, Joy, she was 23 at the end of Payday 2, so she is 28 now, and you can tell from the way she expresses herself. She doesn't count points as much anymore, like she used to do in Payday 2. So she is a little bit more mature in the way she expresses herself. And the same with Dallas. Dallas is one of the oldest heisters, and even though he still loves the world of heisting, that's his home, that's where he wants to be. You can sort of tell that there are parts of him that would have liked to stay in retirement. So he's maybe a little less wordy than he used to be. He's a little bit more somber. While somebody like Wolf, for instance, he's been through hell during retirement. That's the worst part of his life ever. So he's just exuberantly happy that somebody has tried to kill them and steal all their money, so he gets to do it all again.
For voice actors, we will see Simon Kerr, Pete Gold, and Damien Poitier returning as Dallas, Hoxton, and Chains. Wolf will be returning as well, but with a new voice. For Wolf, we've been trying to find a voice that fits into the ensemble that we have, but also keeping it interesting for Payday 3.
It's been a lot of fun developing some of these new characters. We have a new character, a new heister called Pearl, which has an amazing backstory that's been really fun to write. And obviously the new operator Shade as well. She also has an amazing backstory. Something that I've really been very conscious about writing, for instance, dialogue for these characters is who they are, what sort of words would they use. Some of that comes from the actor portraying the character. We only get to scratch the very surface of these characters' life stories and backgrounds for this game, but going into live service with DLCs, hopefully we can figure out a way to tell a little bit more about their stories, because there's a lot to it that isn't immediately apparent to the players.
I'm really proud of our small talk system. It's the system where it randomly picks conversations with NPCs, civilians in the world, creating a more immersive experience and like a world that feels alive. And I think that is like such a big impact and a big difference from Payday 2, and also with the vehicles and the music from the cars going by. And from an audio perspective, or from the audio department, we usually are the ones that drive the systems and how stuff is going to work. For example, the small talk, while the narrative team are the ones that putting the information in.
It was a lot of fun to write some of the civilian dialogues, things that only meant to be like in the background. I mean, this is the world that they're living in, and having a little bit of dialogue and things like that in the background really gives you a sense that this is an actual living, breathing world. It's not everybody who can come into work and write curse words in 30 different ways, so that's always fun.
I really hope that you like the game and you will play it, and as Gustavo said, make friends and yeah, just have a good old time. Keep those helmets flying.
I honestly,
No comment.
yeah.
Shit, I don't know.
If you're playing a game with that audio, you are.
Have fun.
If it's one thing that I want to promise our viewers or our players, is that we will have